Welcome to Legacy Elevated. We are here to equip, empower, and inspire the next generation through business and community leaders. Legacy Elevated will revolutionize your business beyond the P&L to further shape your identity as a company and your evolution as a brand. Legacy Elevated focuses on global impact you can have by being hyper-local in charity and community while living with your future legacy in mind.
Here today, we're with Venous Chinichian Jones. We wanted to focus on a topic that we think every person listening to the podcast today could learn from, and it's going to be on social styles. Welcome, Venous.
Hi, how are you?
Good, we're doing great. We wanted to focus today on social styles, what that means in your own personal life, and especially if you're in management or you own your own business, what can that look like? So can you explain social styles and who came up with it?
Yeah, so I actually learned about social styles in a training program with another company that I worked for. It's a part of Wilson's Learning, if people are familiar with it. And the reason that I think it's really critical in my life, and it truly has changed my life and how I interact with people, is that a lot of times people take the DISC and evaluations, and this is the type of person I am. And that's fine, but this is really social styles. How do you interact in social situations with other people? And that's really life. In your family, you're in a social situation. At work, you're in a social situation. And so I'm much more interested in how does that work and what does that mean? And so very similar to DISC, there are 4 categories. They kind of sit on a matrix. And so some of them are more people-oriented. Some of them are more task-oriented. And so, you've got your drivers. These are people that are highly task-oriented. You'll usually find this in CEOs, visionaries, leaders. They want to get there, and they want to be first, and they want to perform, and they want to win. And they want to win real bad. And if there's, numbers 1 through 10 of the steps you have to take, they're not really interested in taking all the steps. They just want to get to number 10 as fast as possible, bloody, ugly, bruised, but they want to get there, and they want to get there now. They're very focused on the task and winning and getting that task done. So you'll see a lot of high performers in that position. And so when they interact with other people, that's what they're looking for, right? They want bullet points. They don't want you to write a big, long text message. Tell them where to be, what time, what to do, right? And they'll be there. And the same kind of side of the quadrants is analytics. These are also task-oriented people. They want to get it done, but they want it done right. If there's a task 1 through 10, they have to go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. They cannot skip. They cannot afford the likelihood of a mistake. They are meticulous to the max. And you're going to see this in more people that are analytic, and you'll know right away, right? These are people that are accountants, people that want to be the penny pinchers, they want to look at the documents. These are great for people that are, in a position where they have to review contracts, that they have to review policies. This is really an exceptional position for them because that's what they love doing. They love and they need it. And so at the same time, you cannot give an analytic just a directive. It's never going to be do this because I said so, because they're not going to do it. You got to explain why, and you've got to spend the time. And so just like I said, when you're talking to the driver, let them know the end goal and then move out of the way. With an analytic, they're not going to move till you explain why we're doing this. And you got to be prepared when you manage someone like that they're going to ask 1,000 questions. And it's not an insubordination thing. It's they can't commit until they understand why. They need to know, why do we do it this way? What was the thought process behind it? What is the next step after this? After I complete this, what move is that going to be? And that's really something that's important. But it's also, if you're a driver employing an analytic, you might want to tear your eyeballs out because you just can't deal with it, right? You just want them to go and get it done. So those are our task-oriented people. In the same way, some move fast, some move slow. So drivers move fast, real fast. Analytics move slow, real slow. And so you just got to know that, right? The other side of the quadrant is expressives and amiables. These are people-oriented people. An expressive is truly the center of the party. They're planning the party. They're having the party. They want everybody to come to the party. They want everybody to have fun. They want to win, not because they want the prize, but because they want the recognition. These are your social butterflies. These are the people in the office that have to talk to every single other person in the office before they sit down, right? That can drive you nuts as a driver. They feed off of other people, and it is incredibly important for them to have those relationships. And when you manage them, those are the people that when you have a contest, they're in. They are in the contest because they want to win, because they like winning. And that's really important to them. They are also fast-paced. And so like drivers, they're going to skip a couple steps. And so you've got to understand that that's not the person you give the really meticulous task to, because you can't deal. But that is the person you make the salesperson, because they're going to close the deal, because they're going to get the rush of the win of getting the deal. And so that's how they really win. And last but not least, by any measure, are the amiables. These, like our analytics, they move slow. They are the observers. They care about people, but in a different way. They are the ones that are going to wait when a new person starts and see how everybody else feels about them and get their feedback. And then based on how the group feels is how they feel, because they have to feel critical to the mission, critical to the job. They have to feel that their role in your company, in your organization is critical. And without them, you can't move forward. And so this is the person that is going to remember your mom's dog's sister's name and going to ask you about them. If you mention that you've got a cold, they're going to bring you soup. If you tell them that your wedding anniversary is February 15th, they will remember that for the rest of your life. And so when you communicate with them, you got to do that for them too. And if you don't, they will take it truly personally. And I always give the example of text messages are a great way to understand the difference. Mm-hmm. If the purpose is you got to meet at Park Avenue at 6 o'clock for dinner, you're going to send this to the driver. Park Avenue, 6 p.m., this is the address. Done. Nothing else needs to be sent. For the analytic, Park Avenue, this is the address. I would leave probably 45 minutes because there's going to be traffic. This is the best parking spot. This is the restaurant. If you want to look the menu up beforehand, see you there. Okay? When it's going to be when it's the expressive, it's going to be party at Park and 6. Here's the address. See you there. Don't be late. Mm-hmm. Right? And your amiable is going to be like, good morning. I hope you're having a good day. I know you weren't feeling so great yesterday. I hope you're feeling better today. So for this afternoon, we're going to be having dinner. It'll be me, you, and our, spouses. I'm so excited to see Dan again. I hope he's having a good time with his new job. Here's the time for dinner, and this is where we're going to be having it. I hope that works out for everyone because I know you're gluten-free, right? So that's what it's got to look like, and that's how you got to communicate with them to get the right point across. And I think a lot of times when we're managing people, we communicate the way we like to be communicated with, and that can cause a lot of heartache. So if you haven't figured it out yet, I am an expressive driver. I like the party. I want us to make a lot of money and have a lot of fun. I said I'm an expressive driver because everybody has a secondary role. And that secondary role will kick in when you are stressed. Mm. And so for me, my goal is to have fun and make a lot of money and win. But the minute that we're not having fun and making a lot of money, I now want the results. And it's not going to be pretty how I react with that. And so for me, I was sending text messages to my amiable, getting to the point. And she was always hurt. And I couldn't understand what the problem was. I was taking her to dinner. We're having dinner for your birthday. What's the problem? Well, you didn't invite my husband. What? I didn't even think about it. I thought he was just coming because he's coming, right? And so over time, I've really learned, to quickly identify what someone's social style is and then to remember to communicate in that way. And the interesting part of it is in each social situation, your social style changes. So at work, I may be one social style. At home, I may be another. And so you just got to kind of think about that and communicate in the right way.
Yeah, so let's help people a little bit with social styles and digging deeper and maybe key words or trigger. So if you're trying to find out right now, well, what am I? Let's go through each of those social styles and say perhaps words or phrases that would align with that. So if I'm a driver, give me an example of throughout the day words or key triggers that I might use.
You're the bullet point king, and it's going to be where are we at with this? What's the result of this? When will this be done? This is what I need. Those are usually how the emails will start.
Sure. How about the analytic?
The analytic is going to be exactly meticulous. It's going to be steps. They're going to have emails that have 1 through 5 of things that they need. They're going to, when you give them a directive, have a lot of questions for clarification reasons. They're going to spend a lot of time early in the day planning for their day and then getting to do what it is they need to do. They also have the danger of analysis paralysis, where they will plan themselves into complete inactivity. And they will also feel a lot of stress with those emails that say, where are we at with this? What time is this going to be done? I need this. So if you get those emails from your boss and it's instant, like, oh my God, I haven't planned for this. Or if you've planned out your entire day and your boss walks in your office and says, I need this, and now you are completely frazzled, you're probably an analytic.
Yeah. Expressive?
Expressives are just having a good time. They're the ones that are talking about the football game. They're the ones that are, planning the next employee dinner, lunch, giveaway. When it comes to production, they're making games for themselves. So if you gamify your own life, like, okay, if I get this many sales, I can buy myself X thing, you're probably an expressive, right? So I'm an expressive, and I literally have 5 gifts, person jewelry related, that if we hit our goals for the quarters, I get to buy myself said gift, right? So I like to gamify and reward myself, and that's how I get motivated.
And amiable?
Amiable is going to be all about the details. If you remember everybody's birthday and everybody's everything, and you always remember to send a thank you card, and you spend your days observing what everybody else thinks and then kind of moving with the group, that's probably going to be an amiable. If you are the one, there's always the one person that makes the gift baskets and, remembers, oh, by the way, it's your best friend's anniversary today. That's going to be your amiable that's truly there. And you'll know yourselves. Amiables are, you guys are the ones that are always thoughtful. That's like the number one word people will use when they, express who you are, right? They're going to be like, man, you're so thoughtful.
Let's talk about social styles. I thought it was interesting when you said there's a pairing that happens where each person not only has their dominant one, but then they also have another one that happens during stress.
Yes.
So can you give examples of, and maybe this does or doesn't happen, of what naturally pairs? So if you're a driver, is there a natural correlation to where most drivers pair with X?
No, actually there isn't. You can have any kind of mixture. What normally happens is people revert back to what they were in school almost, like when they were younger, in times of stress, because it makes them feel more comfortable. So I came from, my parents are educators, and my dad is an analytic. And so, when and he's a driver too, when it came to, performance in school. So when I'm highly stressed, I start making spreadsheets and I start calculating things and I start looking over numbers, because it helps me feel like I'm a little bit more in control. And I think it just goes back to, like, anytime my dad would say there was a problem, he would say, first and foremost, get organized. Your desk looks like a mess, your mind is going to be a mess. So get organized, and then you can produce at what you want to do. So I think it really depends on where you were when you were younger, of what that kind of falls to.
Wow, maybe even perhaps your behavioral environment and what you were raised with. So for you, let's let the listeners hear in again. Sure. What are your 2? So
I'm an expressive driver.
But yet you just talked about being an analytic.
So I have to get results when it comes to high stress. And so I can't do 1 through 10, but I got to figure out what 1 through 10 is so I can skip them to get to 10. So it's really a very short period of, like, okay, I got to figure out what is my actual goal. And now I'm tunnel vision. I have to get there now.
Yeah. So we've been in business together for, over 5 years. Let me be vulnerable here. Mm-hmm. And if you're a CEO or owner of a company, you may have a similar assessment to myself. So pull off the gloves. What are my top two?
Most CEOs are driver expressives. Because you got to be. You got to like people and being around people, but you can't be vulnerable to, I don't want to say their opinion of you, but their behaviors. And so a lot of times with CEOs, they're drivers and they've got to be to get the results to get them in that position. But they also have to have that key element of being around people and getting energized by them.
And you hire for so many people around the country and so many executives. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about oil and water. To be careful in social styles. So let's say I'm a smaller company and maybe it's just me and one other person or less than 5. If they are a driver expressive or expressive driver, who do they need to be careful about when they hire?
Never hire an amiable. Like ever.
Never. Wow.
Ever.
Okay.
Never, ever.
Explain that for a second.
So if you're truly an expressive driver, I don't want to say that you don't care about people's feelings, but like your mind doesn't work in that way. Your mind doesn't work in that thought process. So I'll be vulnerable and tell a story. So my brother is an amiable, and we lived together for a time period. And so I lived with him, and we had decided that I wasn't a breakfast eater. I was going to start eating breakfast. And so we went and got these like things from Costco that were like little sandwiches. And so after a week of having these sandwiches, I came home one day and he like lost his mind. And every morning I was like taking it out of the freezer, microwaving it, leaving it. And the week later it comes by and he loses his mind. I can't care about you more than you care about yourself. And we talked about you wanting to have breakfast and I can't believe you're so inconsiderate. And I'm like, what are we talking about right now? I've been eating them every day. So every night, because he went to bed after me, he was taking one out of the freezer and putting it into the fridge for me because he was so thoughtful. And he had taken that time to do it. So every morning when he opened up the refrigerator and it was still sitting there, he took it as a screw you. I don't want it. I don't want it. And so here was the perfect example of what happens, right? Is that to me, I literally had no idea it was happening because it wasn't even on my radar. But to him, it was truly hurtful because he thought that I was deliberately not doing this thing and that he was going out of his way to help me. And so I think that especially if you're drivers, your brains are not wired to think and you end up hurting amiable's feelings without even knowing that you're doing it. And so that's very difficult. If you choose to hire an analytic, you have to brace yourself for the timeline delay. You have to be prepared that you will never get things when you feel like you want to get them because the analytic is going to do it right. You do not need to worry about compliance. You do not need to worry about it being detailed. You do not need to worry about it being perfect because it's going to be perfect. But you may think it should take a day. It's going to take them a week. And you just need to prepare yourself that it's going to take a week, but the end result is going to be phenomenal. And so those are kind of an example of what that looks like.
Yeah, and obviously they can hire you tomorrow to hire the right people and master this.
Yeah.
Can you give them 2 questions that they could ask a potential hire today to help them understand the social styles and should they hire them or will it be oil and water?
Yeah, I think an easy way that you don't even need to ask the question. You can just read the type of emails that you get. So when someone's applying for the job, there's many different types of emails, right? So I look at a lot of resumes and I send a lot of emails back and forth. And so the person that's sending you, you send out this long email, I'd like to do a phone interview with you, you're going to get a couple different kinds of emails back. One is going to be, and I get these emails, right? The 12th and 13th, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Guess what? That's a driver. That person is a driver. The person that sends you an email back that says, well, I work on my regular job. I'm only available this time to send this time. I'm available to do blah, 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 blah. This time works, this time works, this time works. That's an analytic. right? The person that's like, thank you so much for answering my resume application. I'm like so excited to meet you and your company. I've reviewed all of your emails. I think it would be phenomenal for me to take part in such a business that's so charity oriented. I'm really available whenever it's easy for you, and I can accommodate whatever you would like. There's your amiable, right? And your expressive is going to be like, thank you so much, exclamation mark, that you want to connect with me. I'm open whenever you are.
Yeah.
And so before you even talk to them, you can usually pick up on cues like that. When you are talking to them, expressive and drivers talk really fast in general. They're much more direct eye contact. They're going to look you in the eye if you're having a Zoom or something like that. They're going to answer the way they think, which is in bullet points. So if you ask them a direct question, they're going to give you a pretty direct answer. With an amiable or an analytic, you probably may not get as much eye contact. An analytic is going to make sure to answer your question fully. Not extra. There won't be a whole lot of extra fluff in there, but they are going to make sure that, they answer everything that you're asking them. With an amiable, they're going to be more deliberate in their, discussion, and they are going to really give you a personal side to the answer of the question that you're asking.
Closing thought on social styles. What's one thing everyone needs to know today?
You have to talk to people the way that they understand. And you can only motivate people by things that truly motivate them.
Love it. Thank you, Venous, for joining us today. If you want to learn more about social styles, hop on to legacyelevated.com and you'll learn more of how you can incorporate this in your life and in your business.
Thank you for joining us for the Legacy Elevated podcast, where we reveal the ways to impact the world and leave a legacy that empowers the next generation. Follow us at Legacy Elevated on YouTube and Instagram. And if you have a business that can inspire others, reach out to us today.